Welcome back, Keepers of the Flames. Necklace. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a read for Monday. We can squeeze that in. Kind of feel through it, feel to it, all that good gravy. Alright. Aries energy, Mars coming in. That is the dude who wants to build an empire. However, do you notice he's not the one that's in the town square, got leashes on everybody? He's got some roses there. He's got some tulips. Beauty, luxury, love. What else? He's got the crown of pearls like down by his, in between his arms, and he's got the structure in his head. I don't see any crosses, but it kind of looks cathedral-y. There's a sword in his belt. And his mustache. Like, it's not springtime yet, right? It's winter, so he's contemplating. He's going into the underworld with the whatchamacallit energy. So we shall see if he'll turn out to be a healthy one or not. Alright, next card. So this is collective energy. These are not personal readings. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. Multi-dimensional fractal ecosystem. There's a lot of us on the planet, so expecting one general reading to fit, don't be hard on yourself like that. Please, darling, please. Hierophant in reverse, Two of Wands, and the Tower. Okay, so you've got this in the past. Yeah, religions in the meat grinder. You got the Two of Wands, making choices. Having the actual earth come into consideration here. Sitting on the rooftop. This feels like Saturn and Neptune. Religion in the meat grinder. Having the earth sitting on the rooftop looking up the moons. This feels like that transit I just talked about in the previous video. With the Emperor at the top. Aries energy, that Mars going, get it done, kids, get it done. I command you, take that tower down. Very interesting, darling. At the bottom of the deck, we have Five of Wands. Hopefully we're done being petty. I doubt it, but it'd be nice to get out of Petty University because that place is a fucking hoax. Anyway, Four of Wands in reverse. No celebrations to be had. And look at what's biting it. Education is biting it. So I guess we could address that elephant in the room. Yeah, we based our education on some rich man who had 13 heart transplants. Idea of what our education should be based on, and we let that guy control it. So when things don't have an integral foundation to them, they're not going to last. That's just how nature operates. You don't get past, so there's common law, man's law, and then above that is nature. Then you have universal, then you have spiritual. They go in that order. I didn't make the rules, I didn't develop the structured system, but if you want to just take a couple moments and breathe, get some oxygen going to the brain cells, and take a glimpse out into reality, look at a little bit of history, you know, get on the level with what's actually happening with science when that rubber meets the road, get on the level with religion and how their rubber actually meets the road, and then these things will kind of like be able to be processed Okay, so we have a Baconator, I call it, lovingly call it the Baconator concept, where we have science and religion, where the majority of the people who knew what was supposed to be happening for people in the tribes, whether it be through healing modalities, whether it be through easing disagreements in the tribe, whether it be through putting up celebrations and ritualistic practices in the tribes. They were in charge of organizing those as well. Okay, and the education, women were largely in charge of that. Not always. Sometimes men often would be the shamans that traveled. Women were the healers of the tribes that stayed with the tribes. Typically, not always, not 1,000% of the time, but on average, that was kind of how it went. So when you have this taken away, the chessboard becomes kind of like useless. It's kind of fruitless to be on a chessboard. Okay, so and that's the other thing too, is like we have this weird thing that like people who know how to play chess are smart. No, they're in game mentality. It's like the board game in Stranger Things. Like you gotta flip the fucker over, and it's not at all what it seems. It's not. It doesn't function that way. We just are made to believe that it functions in the way of measuring intelligence on how to move through life. And the vast majority of the propaganda that's happening right now is like this empowerment for women movement. No, they're conning us into taking on all the leadership roles and taking on all the patriarchal toxic bullcrap. And so when the thing does crumble, which it is currently, they can see, look at what women did. Oh. Okay, so this is not a good feeling. Messages, judgment, and legacy in reverse. Oh, criminy. I feel like I just spoke that into existence. My bad. So, when the let me get my bearings for a second. When the information comes in, use more of discernment than judgment, because the further we cast each other out and away from ourselves, the further we become more vulnerable to religion. Okay. And you're going to ask me where science is here. There's science, education. The inmates are running the camps, kids. I know it's really hard to like, okay, then what do we put our trust in? Right here, in yourself. Not me. Like take your hand, put it over your heart, right there. That's where your trust is. You trust your future self. You trust that you invested in your future self to make good choices on your own behalf, blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's where you put your trust. Nothing else. Well, and the other thing too is if you don't have a basis of ground information, yada yada yada, on how things work, like if you are young and you have not had any life experience yet, and there's nobody there to teach you, to instruct you, to help you to see, you're going to need to start doing your own research and investigation. This is not anybody else's job but yours. And we have been told that we were entitled to being told the truth. We have been told that the authorities were telling us the truth. And this whole time, the authorities weren't told the truth. The authorities who have authorities who have authorities who have authorities did not trickle down that information on purpose. We just need to start seeing that for ourselves, okay? Religion and science, both on in the meat grinder, and you don't need to blame me. You can squeak and squeal to Francis Bacon. Yeah, I'm a Baconator. So use more discernment than judgment when the messages come through, okay? Because if you use the judgment and you're like, I'm going to cancel blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Okay. And that's the whole goal. Guys, that's the whole goal, is they want to disenfranchise the entire global population so they can call it a win. And how do you win a war? How do you win a war? You control both sides of the war. Both sides. That's how you win a war. There's no other way to do it. If you can't see what the other side is doing and you don't have control over their resources, you're going to lose. There's no winners in war unless you're creating the war and waging on both sides. We don't seem to comprehend that as a people. We just have lost it when it comes to comprehension and how the world actually works and how it is panning out. We're just being conned into all these positions, beliefs about how things are actually going, how the rubber's actually meeting the road. It's just a huge illusion con game. And we keep falling for it over and over and over again. If you're being put into debt in like whole houses worth for an education that you have to spend like maybe a third of your life getting before you can get out and start making money off of it, you're going to be really invested in that. And if someone even dares to question you or says, hey, that's not a rug you can stand on, you're going to get really upset. And rightfully so. You've spent so much time, energy, and resources. You are now in debt for the rest of your life to this institution that has indoctrinated you into believing XYZ to be true when you didn't even start with ABC. So you got all the way to the end of the alphabet without seeing jack diddly squat that came before. That's not good. That's never a good basis for anything. So we are automatically assuming that all of these instructors have been instructed correctly and that they all have a really solid basis of foundation, when they typically just give the advice of repeat the dead man's words. Repeat the rich guy who had nothing better to do with his time but sit and read some books and reflect on a society that he doesn't even partake in, and then make a book out of it. Make a philosophy out of it. Make it a lifestyle, of which the vast majority of the global population will never exist in. Whoa! Okay, so, everybody's like Dostoevsky, Flufferton, and then Nietzsche, who's young, whatever it is. These are one perspective of one rich white man who had mommy and daddy's money to go and investigate all of these things about lifestyles they have never experienced. They're just observing them from the outside and saying that they know all the things. Talk about armchair something. Okay, so they're not taking everyone's perspective into account. They're making caricatures, archetypes, assuming that everybody fits into this one archetype, not completely based in reality, because we are multifaceted creatures with a multifaceted, it's not just one face or the other. It's a multitude of things. And they kind of sort of pointed at, like, when a person is put under extreme pressure, they're gonna respond in a particular way. They hinted at it. They nudged at it. And then they slipped it through the back door, gave it to somebody who had some power to do something with that knowledge, and then put the net over humanity as a whole. Trauma bond. Binding spell. Religion to bind again. Trauma releases adrenaline and cortisol into the central nervous system. When you don't die from said threat. Whatever. It could be threat that's real or perceived. Doesn't matter. When you don't die from said threat, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and dopamine flood in, mixing with the first two, creating a very addictive cocktail. Okay. This is why we have a difficult time grasping at any concept that there might be something else out there other than trauma. Oh, just let me get through this. Just let me remember my fucking password, and then I'm going to go take a nap. Let me get through this day, and then I just want to check out. Let me get over this work situation. Let me get out of this traumatic relationship. Let me get through blah, 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 blah. Let me get through this health medical crises. Let me. It's just a continuous process of the society doing what it's trained to do. And so these things are falling away and dying right now. The main resource they're after is everybody else's legacy, so that they can, like, channel in their own. So that they can be like, look at this beautiful martyr over here, this glorious dead man who did all these wonderful, amazing things, even better than the Baconator ever could have dreamt. Look how beautiful it is. Except for we're not going to tolerate that anymore. So, where we're at. Okay. Alright, we're going to get some Shaman's Dream. Oh, geez, that's a lot. I don't want to do that. Skybridge. Possibility for union. Now, for those of you who have... well, let's look at the card. So, 2 hemispheres of the brain. It could be also the throat and the heart, or the mind and the heart, doing that whole connecting thing, bringing that energy and bridging it, right? Excuse me. It could be you picking up some sort of higher dimensional message, you connecting with the truth of something, you getting down to the roots of a problem and bringing it to light, whatever the heck it is, right? It doesn't have to be union with other people. It can be, it doesn't have to be, just saying. There it is, in your hand. The universe is your partner. As within, so without, as above, so below. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, we have this notion that, like, when people are being stripped of their education, stripped of the whatever, we're going to poo-poo them. We're going to say, oh, don't listen to them, blah, 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 blah. The notion that these coming up energies, beings that are called the youth, are being stripped of their education is because the way in which we are to move forward is through heart coherence, not mind jumbo bumbo. And we've sabotaged so much by just using this and this is running the cart. This is the thing that's holding the reins that are connected to this. Okay, this is just the wheel that moves it forward. This is the desire, the want, the passion, the fiery spark, that actually keeps the thing going, okay? Okay, we can... If this goes, everything goes. We can live as a vegetable, right? We can. Okay. This goes, okay. So then we have intentionality, the eye of the needle. Crap, what's that? When you can drive a camel through the eye of a needle or something like that? That might mean something to somebody. It means nothing to me, but it's just, I overheard it the other day. I'm like, that's ridiculous. So right there, see? That's how that's supposed to work. Eye of the needle, right there. Da, 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 da. Okay, so why the hell do you want to put a camel through there? Psh, that's your business. Okay. Ugh. Okay, covenant, sacred contract. Okay. And the other thing too is like that's kind of Saturn's realm as well as contracts, and Neptune's going to be like, yeah, we're going to dissolve that in a pool of water. Like it's just going to like the ink is going to disperse, the paper's going to start to kind of fall apart, and that soul contract, karmic contract, sacred contracts kind of probably bite it, because that came in the reverse. Lost in space was also in reverse, needing direction. That Saturn Neptune thing, Saturn's gonna have a little bit of his way. Oh, many masks came out sideways. The authentic self. Who are you underneath the mask? Neptune wants your authenticity. Saturn wants your... What does Saturn want? Commitment. Saturn wants your commitment with the Hierophant turned upside down. Saturn wants your commitment, and Neptune wants your authentic self. Open to all possibilities. Okay. Another sideways, upside down card. Spirit of the river. Movement towards adventure. So we might be like a little bit in the stagnant energy until I think it's February. Late February 20th. And then it's conjoined, I believe. The Saturn Neptune. So this chrysalis thing. La 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 la. Dances on one foot. The balancing act. So that could be interesting. Pisces. This is ruled by Neptune. Pisces rules the feet. So maybe watch out for that. Gathering around, the power of community. Oh, yeah. Big time. Power of community. Absolutely. Because the authorities that be are not going to help us. They're not going to cover our ass. They're not going to benefit us. They're going to continue to parasite like they have been this entire time with no pretty little mask on. Okay? Sorry, there's a giant pile here. We're just going to keep going through it. Cat, a pillar, opportunity. Yeah, we're a little caterpillar in the chrysalis right now. We're a big mush ball. That's Saturn and Neptune too. Boy, it's knocking them all over. All right. Netcaster, preparations come to fruition. So, where are you casting your net? Where do you want to catch stuff? What is it you want? And then are you casting it in the right direction? Or are you casting it where mommy and daddy want it? Or where the church wants it? Or where your professor wants it? Or the red pillar on the fucking tube of the Ubes wants it? Are you casting it, where your partner wants it? And you're not really interested in that? You're not aligned with that? Whatever the heck it is. Where are you casting your net? Is it going to bring you what you need to get you through the future? Is that a seahorse? That is. It's a seahorse and a pufferfish. Freaking cute. Mars is in Sagittarius at the moment. Why did I say that? Oh, horse. I was like, how did I even connect that? Okay, it's the horse. The half horse, half human. Sagittarius. Deep diver. Diving into a task. Ew. Pick something. Pick anything. Doesn't matter. If you decide you don't like it, switch it up. Right? Right. Okay. Next, I want to go back to this herbology deck that I did the last video with the canvas. I want some. Give us some yum yum advice. Some delicioso. Saturn and Neptune. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love this deck. Okay. So, Mitragina? I sincerely apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but look at there. Saturn and Neptune at the top. Dude, I miss pulling cards for you guys. Okay. La 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 la. So, shapeshift. Hang on. Oh, I gotta pull up the cards. Alright. No glarage. Okay. Shapeshifting. Subconscious healing. Synchronizing inner and outer worlds. Shapeshifting. Time travel. Transcendence of illusion. This came out upright, but the illusion or the reverse could be obsessive thoughts, illusionary facade, addiction, self-abandonment, unable to grow, and stagnancy. Astrological rulers are Saturn and Neptune. The indigenous peoples of Southeast Asia have valued the power of this rainforest tree for thousands of years and have used it as a poultice to treat wounds, as well as a treatment for a variety of symptoms including stress, pain, fatigue, and fever. Like cocoa leaves in the South American highlands, fresh leaves from the Mitragina tree are chewed for energy and stamina throughout the day. Mitragina is revered among the monks in Asia as it assisted them during long periods of meditation by providing focused attention and positive energy. As early as the 19th century, kratom became well known as the opium substitute and quickly became curative treatment for the withdrawal from opium addiction. It became more popularized in the West due to Mitragina's use in Thailand, Malaysia, and surrounding areas, helping those with morphine dependence. Mitragina embodies the elements of both Saturn and Neptune and it profoundly relieves and decompresses the musculoskeletal system while granting a freeing and euphoric feeling to the body-mind. Used in the right amounts, it can greatly assist those with an addiction, quote, in parentheses, Neptune. We covered that in the previous video. The balanced side of Mitragina represents the ability to shapeshift and adapt across realities. Like the dragonfly, Mitragina grants us the power to break through the illusionary facade we often accept as reality, providing us the freedom from pain in order to break through limiting illusions. Dragonfly, like Mitragina, helps us initiate subconscious healing from the trauma experienced from the endless cycles of pain and suffering. Dragonfly medicine invites us to seek out the parts of our habits that have gone unchanged, unnoticed, and stagnant. Ask yourself, have I tended to the changes I've been wanting to make? Don't get lost in the labyrinths of self-doubt. Break free from the elusive belief systems that hold back your transformation. Love it. Fan freaking tabulous. Galactic mushroom, the divine matrix. Just remember that the matrix also is a trap. So you gotta get out of the matrix, and then there's that chrysalis period we're in right now, and then we gotta get to the true, okay? Because the matrix is, you don't need to be in that war fighting the machines, okay? That's just one more trap. Easy does it. Easy does it. Don't get yourself in that entrapment again, okay? Choices and their consequences. Feast appointee. Okay. Alright, one more. Dust Devils. Moving out of stagnation. Okay, the other one's reversed, so we're not going to read it. Alright. Until next time, I love you and keep your flame.